There is a man I want you to think about today. A man who worked hard his entire life. A man who sacrificed weekends, skipped vacations, poured every dollar he had into building something real. Something that was supposed to outlast him. Something he could be proud of. And then, one day, it was gone. Not because of a bad economy, not because of a failed product, not because of anything the market did. It was gone because he trusted the wrong person. Today, I'm going to tell you his story, and more importantly, I'm going to teach you the lessons hidden inside that story. Lessons that could protect your money, your business, your future, and your peace of mind. Stay with me, because this one could change everything for you. Part 1. The beginning of something great. His name was Daniel, and Daniel had a dream. From the time he was a young man, he wanted to build a business. Not just any business, a real one. One that created jobs, served people, and stood the test of time. He started small, a modest logistics company. Just him, a second-hand truck, and a phone that never stopped ringing. He worked 18-hour days. He ate cheap. He reinvested every profit back into the company. 5 years later, Daniel had a fleet of 12 trucks, 30 employees, and contracts with some of the largest retail brands in his region. He had made it, or so he thought. But there was one problem Daniel never solved, one weakness he carried from day one. Daniel hated the numbers. The spreadsheets, the invoices, the bank reconciliations. They overwhelmed him. So when a man named Marcus came along, well-dressed, well-spoken, and seemingly brilliant with finance, Daniel felt relief for the first time in years. Marcus became his business partner, his financial director, his most trusted ally, and Daniel handed over the keys. Part 2. The slow bleeding. Nobody steals everything at once. That is not how it works. Marcus was smart. He started small. A few $100s misallocated here. A vendor invoice slightly inflated there. Expenses that looked legitimate on paper, but were quietly being redirected into accounts Daniel had never seen. Months passed, then a year, then 2. Daniel kept working, kept growing the business, kept trusting the reports Marcus handed him every quarter. Reports that showed steady, if modest, growth. What Daniel did not know was that those reports were fiction. Behind the clean spreadsheets, Marcus had siphoned nearly $1.2 million from the company over 26 months. He had created fake vendor accounts. He had forged payment approvals. He had even taken out a line of credit in the company's name and pocketed the funds. And Daniel? Daniel was busy driving the truck, literally and figuratively. He was so focused on building the front end of the business that he completely abandoned the back end. He trusted Marcus not just with tasks, he trusted him with total, unsupervised, unchecked control. That is where the story turns. Part 3. The morning everything collapsed. It was a Tuesday morning in March. Daniel arrived at the office to find 3 things waiting for him: a call from his bank, a letter from a creditor, and an empty desk where Marcus used to sit. Marcus was gone. The bank call revealed that the business account was overdrawn by $47,000. The creditor letter was a formal notice of default on the loan Daniel had never knowingly signed. And Marcus? Marcus had cleaned out his office the night before and boarded a flight out of the country. Daniel sat in that empty office for a long time. He told me later that the silence was the loudest thing he had ever heard in his life. He called his accountant, then his lawyer, then the police. Over the next 3 weeks, the full picture emerged. $1.2 million gone. Fraudulent loans totaling another $400,000. Vendor relationships poisoned. Employee payroll at risk. And a reputation that would take years to rebuild. Daniel lost the business. Lost his savings. Almost lost his home. He did not lose his family. And he did not lose his mind. But he came close on both. Part 4. The 5 lessons that could save you. Now, here is where this story stops being about Daniel and starts being about you. Because the truth is, Daniel is not rare. Financial betrayal inside businesses and partnerships happens every single day. And in the overwhelming majority of cases, the victim is someone who was simply too trusting, too busy, or too uncomfortable with the numbers to pay attention. So let me give you 5 lessons from Daniel's story that you need to tattoo on your brain. Lesson 1. Trust is not a strategy. Verification is. Trusting people is a virtue in life. In business, it is a liability without systems. You can trust someone and still require them to be audited. You can like someone and still demand financial transparency. The two are not in conflict. In fact, if someone resists oversight, that resistance itself is a red flag. Healthy business relationships welcome accountability. Build systems that make fraud difficult, not just unlikely. Lesson 2. Never give one person total financial control. This is called segregation of duties, and it is one of the most fundamental principles in accounting and business management. No single person should be able to authorize a payment, process that payment, and reconcile the accounts. Those 3 functions should always be separated. When one person controls all 3, the door to fraud swings wide open. Even in a small business, find ways to split financial responsibilities. Lesson 3. Understand your own numbers. Daniel's greatest vulnerability was not Marcus. It was Daniel's own discomfort with finance. When you do not understand your numbers, you cannot detect when something is wrong. You do not need to become an accountant, but you need to understand your cash flow, your profit margins, your key expenses, and your bank balances at a basic level. Review your financials personally, every single month. No exceptions. Lesson 4. Audit regularly, not just when something feels wrong. Most people only audit when they suspect a problem. By then, it is often too late. Schedule regular independent audits of your business finances. Bring in an outside accountant or auditor at least once a year to review your books with fresh, unbiased eyes. The cost of an annual audit is a fraction of what you stand to lose if fraud goes undetected for months or years. Think of it as insurance. Lesson 5. Know the warning signs. There are almost always warning signs before financial fraud is discovered.
employees or partners who resist sharing financial information, vendor names you do not recognize, expenses that seem slightly off but nothing dramatic enough to raise alarm, a lifestyle that seems inconsistent with their salary, reluctance to take vacations because fraudsters often avoid time off knowing their schemes might be discovered in their absence. Learn these signs.
If you are building something right now, a business, a career, an investment portfolio, a partnership, take what you heard today seriously. The people who will hurt you most in life will rarely be strangers. They will be people you smiled at, people you shared meals with, people you called friends. That is not a reason to live in paranoia. It is a reason to live in wisdom. Trust people, but protect yourself. Always. If this story moved you or taught you something today, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because somewhere out there, right now, there is a Daniel who still has time to protect himself. Do not let him miss this.